Welcome to the 5th World Fast Pitch Softball Championship Tournament at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, Washington. In the Pacific Northwest, where the sun bounces off resplendent Mount Rainier and then drenches the evergreen valleys. The Pacific Northwest, Tacoma, Washington, the Puget Sound country, and the site of the World Championship Fast Pitch Softball Tournament that has brought together 14 of the best softball teams in the world. Not all are left now. Some of them have fallen by the wayside, and more will soon go, but there's some great softball action yet to go. And this action will be brought to you by Budweiser. Whatever you do, this Bud's for you. Hello again, sports fans, from Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, Washington. I'm Bob Robertson, along with Wes Parker, who is here to join me now for the action of the softball tournament. Wes, we've seen an awful lot of great action so far, and with the United States against New Zealand, I would guess we're going to see some more.
Well, I've played a little slow pitch softball, never fast pitch. In fact, I've never really seen championship fast pitch played before, and I'm just very impressed with the speed. It's a tremendously fast game, and the players have exceptional skills to do it as well as they do.
Well, Wes and fans, with these two ball clubs getting together, we will see some of the best pitching that has ever been put on a softball field. This ball will just leave little wisps of smoke behind when it goes. I know you're going to have a feeling as a ball player stepping in against this kind of pitching.
I think I already have. You know, a hard ball distance is 60 feet between the pitcher's mound and home plate, and here, I believe it's 46 feet.
That's right.
So you cut that distance down by 14 feet, and yet they're still throwing 90 to 100 miles per hour, and the speed is awesome. The hitters have to be so quick with the bat. I really know that our viewers will enjoy it.
I know they will. I know Wes will, and I guarantee you that I will, as the 5th Fast Pitch World Softball Championship Tournament continues with the United States team from Midland, Michigan against the national team from New Zealand. And we'll have all of that action coming your way. The United States is 6-0 coming to this game, unbeaten in the preliminary rounds. New Zealand is 5-1, only an extra inning loss to Canada to mar their record at the present time, and that one was on a fly ball that evaded an outfielder who fell down. So stay with us, because this is going to be a great game between the United States and New Zealand, and we'll have all the action for you shortly. We'll be right back. Well, once again from Cheney Stadium, it's time to play ball. And right now, the United States takes the field to go against New Zealand in a battle that should be a wild one. It should be some of the best pitching that we have seen through the tournament. And there's something very special riding on this one, because the gentleman on the pitching rubber for the United States, Owen Walford, they call him the Fog, is New Zealand born. And in two previous world tournaments, that gentleman, Owen Walford, pitched for the New Zealand national team. And in fact, in the 1976 tournament played in New Zealand, he set a record by winning 6 games for the New Zealand team on the way to that three-way tie for the championship. And here today, pitching for the team out of Midland, Michigan, that has won the United States National Championship, augmented itself with a few players along the way. Owen Walford, in the first game he has pitched in the championship round, Wes, will face his countryman from New Zealand. He's the opposition today.
I was talking to some of the U.S. coaches, and they were saying that they tried to talk this gentleman into wearing earplugs today during the game, because they just feel that he is going to be ridden on mercifully by some of his former countrymen.
I would imagine that there would be a little feeling. I know the feeling is good throughout the tournament. There's been no animosity, but I would think that there would be a tendency to get on somebody who was playing for another country against you after you'd been a teammate some years ago.
Well, I would certainly think so. Imagine if an American pitcher went over to Japan and suddenly was playing against an American team, some ace like Sandy Koufax, something like that.
You're right. This, of course, is amateur sport. The professionals, maybe there'd be more understanding, because a player could be sold or traded. But here's Owen Walford, who through this tournament has been in 14 innings. He has struck out 29. Now, that's a bit better than 2 strikeouts per inning. He's allowed only 2 hits. He has given up 5 bases on balls. He's won both his games. And he was the opening day pitcher against Japan when the United States won. He pitched a 1-hitter in that game. He pitched a 1-hitter in his following game. And he has just been almost untouchable in this tournament so far through the qualifying rounds. Now here in the championship round, Owen Walford pitches for the United States. And the American team in the field At third base, we'll have Jeff Peck. At shortstop, Jim Fillion. At second base, Jack Starling. And at first base for the United States, Jim Wright. The outfield, Johnson, Van Zoren, and Stewart. And we're ready to go as Peter Hartley steps to the plate for New Zealand in the white uniforms. And the Kiwis are about to take on the Yanks here in championship soccer softball play. Here we go. It's a ground ball and right back through the middle. It's a base hit off the glove of the diving Jack Starling. And right away, the New Zealanders go to work on Owen Wolford and pick up a hit as Peter Hartley grounds the ball, the first pitch of the game, sharply back through the middle. And I guess now the first touch, Wes, has been made. That's the first contact.
Now they've got to try and work him around the base paths, and that isn't very easy to do.
No, it really isn't. Not against a skilled team like the United States squad and against the fine pitching of Owen the Fog Wolford. They call him the Fog for obvious reasons because he fogs that ball so hard. And the batter now is Wayne Nichols, the third baseman. Nichols at the plate. Look at the first baseman. He's all the way to the batter's box on that right side. He's just moved right down the line.
Well, this situation calls for a bunt, and the USA is just daring him to lay the ball down. They're going to try and get that out at second base.
Well, that first baseman is going to walk away with a tilt if he decides to swing away on an outside fastball.
Better pitch him inside then.
Wolford is ready. He rocks into the motion. Here's the pitch. A rising fastball is on the outside, and it is ball two. And I just wonder if Wolford isn't feeling just a little bit of the strain going into this game, pitching against New Zealand. Ready again. Cronkright is the catcher. Here comes the pitch. Fastball, he got it over for a called strike. Nelson Cronkright behind the plate. He gives the signals to the pitcher. Under fast pitch softball rules, the pitcher must be on the pitcher's plate when he takes the signal. He cannot stand behind it and take the sign from the catcher. Now into the windup and the pitch, a bunt hard to the first baseman. He'll go to second and he threw it away past the shortstop, covering the bag, and everybody's safe. Peter Hartley safe at second. Wayne Nichols, trying to sacrifice, is safe at first. On the error, I would think, to the first baseman on the throwing error to Jim Wright, as the shortstop coming over to cover the bag, and the ball was back on the shortstop side. He just simply couldn't turn back to field it.
Got to be an error on the throw, but you know, the hitter Nichols tried to bunt the ball past the first baseman. He tried to bunt it hard, and he actually made a heck of a play coming up with the ball, but then just rushed his throw.
He did, and he put it on the wrong side. If he'd rushed it a bit on the other side, he'd been all right, but he came behind the shortstop, and the batter now is John Lowes, as New Zealand threatens in the very first inning.
And again, the bunt situation.
And again, the first and third basemen are way in on top of the plate, and the pitch is low and outside from Owen Wolford. Both the United States and New Zealand loaded with outstanding pitchers, as is Canada, which in game 2 of the championship round advanced with a victory over the Bahamas. Wolford ready. Up over the top of the cap. Here's the pitch. A half chopping swing off the third baseman to the pitcher. Throw to third to the shortstop. Oh, what a play that one was for a force at third base. Let's take another look at that one, because that is a wild one to get a force play at third base. This is not your usual accepted way. He squared to bunt, then went back up the bat, took the chopping swing. The ball bounced off the third baseman who had charged, bounced to the pitcher, who threw to the shortstop covering.
Super play.
And Hartley is out.
Super play. It's a very, very fast game. It almost reminded you of volleyball the way that play went.
It certainly did. Or a shooting gallery, perhaps, because that ball hit the third baseman and bounded into the hands of Wolford, the pitcher, who was coming in that direction, and threw to the shortstop, Jim Fillion, who had covered at third. One out, still runners at first and second. The batter for New Zealand is Alan Russell. Fastball in the strike zone, shoulder high. Fast pitch softball, the strike zone is from the shoulders to the knees. And that ball rising into the strike zone can be very difficult to handle. New Zealand center fielder Alan Russell. In the windup. Came down in front to set, now back up again. Wolford throws the breaking rising pitch outside. He has the full repertoire of pitching tricks. Here's the runner at second base. That, of course, is now Wayne Nichols, who tried to sacrifice and reach first base on the fielder's choice throwing error, but he got credit for sacrifice, not a time at bat. And Lowes is on at first. Walford into the motion once again, pitches to the right-hand batter, a half swing, a pop-up, infield fly rule called, and the second baseman lost the ball and it bounced in front of him. Now the runner who doesn't have to go has tried to go, and he's tagged out at third base. The infield fly had properly been called by all three infield umpires and the plate umpire. The second baseman lost the ball in the sun. It fell in front of him. The runner at second base, Nichols, didn't have to run. The runners, however, by rule, may advance at their own risk, and he was thrown out.
I can't believe he even tried it unless he didn't hear the call, but he was a dead duck. Never had a chance to go and didn't even have to go.
No, he really didn't, and I think it was just a momentary lapse of the excitement of the occasion. He ran when he didn't have to. Here it is again. As you can see, with runners at first and second and less than 2 out, as the ball is hit up in the air and can be caught with normal effort by an infielder, the infield fly rule now. See the umpire there on the bases? He's called it, both arms up, but the second baseman lost the ball. It dropped in front of him. It's the first baseman, actually, who picks it up. In the meantime, Nichols has run the throw to third base, and he is out. And so it is a double play. And the top half of the first inning is over. For New Zealand, after a wild first inning, it is no runs and 1 hit. There was 1 error by the United States and 1 man left on the bases. And at the middle of the first inning, the score now is New Zealand nothing and the United States coming to bat. Well, I'll tell you, the infield fly rule has bedeviled fans and players alike, Wes, for a long, long time. And maybe just a quick recap of it, but the way it reads in the rule book is that with runners on first and second, or first, second, and third, and less than 2 out, a ball is hit in the air that can be, in the judgment of the umpire, caught by an infielder. He automatically calls the batter out, and the runners are not required to advance but may at their own risk. And I guess at all levels, you see it happen once in a while.
Well, the reason they put that rule in the first place is because of the fact that before, an infielder would deliberately drop the ball, then throw to third and back to second and get an easy double play. And rather than allow a team to do that to you, which didn't seem fair, they simply put in the infield fly rule, and it really makes it a more fair situation for both teams, I think.
Right, and in that case, of course, it cost New Zealand as their runner wandered off second base, thinking that he was now being forced because the ball had dropped. Here's Rod Johnson, who has had a great tournament for the United States. In the one game they almost lost in the preliminary rounds, Rod Johnson broke it up in the bottom of the 7th inning when the United States, against the Dominican Republic, came into that inning behind 3-1 and scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th to win 4-3, and Rod Johnson drove in the 2 that tied it and won it. Rod hitting in the 400 level in the tournament, the big left fielder. He's a good one. This is an athlete. There's probably not a game around that he couldn't have played if it had been the one he had taken up as a kid. Fans a bit noisy on the side of the United States. Paul Magan is the pitcher for New Zealand. Johnson backs out. Magan walks down the hill to get away from the pressure. This will be a pressure-filled game. It's a winner's championship round contest. 2 long-time arch rivals. A bunt by Rod Johnson goes foul back to the right of the plate. And Rod, with that great speed, is all the way down to first base, so he'll have to come back now. The bunt in fast-pitch softball, of course, can be very definitely an offensive weapon. It isn't just a sacrifice.
Well, that's why both the infielders at first and third are playing in so close as to take away that bunt. It is a tremendous weapon. The base pass being so short, a hitter, especially left-handed hitters, which the USA team is loaded with, can really get down that line quickly.
All right, here's Magan ready once again to pitch to Rod Johnson of the United States. The full windmill. He throws very low and very outside. Control off at the moment. It's a ball and 2 strikes. One thing to note here, Wes, of course, is that they are playing here on a grass infield, which is not common to fast-pitch softball. Most of them play on skin diamonds, and so perhaps cannot take advantage of the chop over the third or first baseman's head as they might on a harder packed diamond.
I think they still can, because there's a lot of dirt area right in front of the plate, and they've mowed that grass down to the point where it almost is dirt.
Yeah, Scott Ryan, the groundskeeper here at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, really worked hard on this. He put a lot of sand into it, cut it, and rolled it, get it packed down. Again, low and outside by Paul Magan of New Zealand, and the count goes level at 2-2. And it's an enthusiastic, a very noisy crowd for the New Zealand versus United States matchup here in the championship round. Both of these teams will advance, but the loser will have to come through the consolation round, facing elimination all the way. The winner will move along in the championship side. Foul back on the screen just below us to the right. And Rod Johnson continues to hang in as a helicopter circles overhead. Take a look here. This is how Paul Magan looks out there in that pitcher's box, 46 feet away from home plate. As he comes up into the full rock. In fact, he's into it right now in live action. Pitches outside corner, called strike 3, and Rod Johnson argues the call, but the umpire is up with the arm, and Rod Johnson is called out on strikes. There's one away for the United States in the bottom of the first inning. The batter now will be the designated hitter, Barry Cashin. Interesting, if you're checking on the designated hitters in fast pitch rules, the designated hitter may hit for anyone in the lineup, not just the pitcher, but it has to be, of course, designated before the game. But in the case of some teams where they have an exceptional hitting pitcher, the designated hitter may bat for one of the infielders and the pitcher bat for himself. That is not the case here. Cashin is batting for Owen Walford. He's a left-hand batter. Magan, ground ball back to the mound, speared one-handed by the pitcher, underhand throw, and he's out. As Barry Cashin hit it off the end of the bat. You could tell he didn't get very good bat on it by the kind of plinking sound that the magnesium or aluminum bat made when the ball was hit. And with 2 out, Bill Stewart will be the batter. Bill is a Seattleite, plays in the Pacific Northwest, and is one of the players added by the Midland, Michigan team that won the U.S. National Championship, and basically is the United States representative here. Many of the countries taking part in the tournament have sent national selections, all-star teams. The United States has basically a championship team augmented by a few pickup players. Bill Stewart of Seattle is one of those.
They can only add 4, isn't that right?
I believe 4 is the number. Into the wind once again. Paul Magan. And he bounced that one in the right-hand batter's box. And I would think that there might be some concern on the part of Coach Roy Dalton and manager Lester Baldwin that even though Magan has not been roughed up at all by USA batters as yet, he has shown a tendency to throw that ball low and well off the plate. And if that continues, you might soon see one of those other pitchers in the bullpen, even though no one has scored any runs. Magan again. Got that one over, but a bit low. Count is 2 balls, no strikes. New Zealand second baseman John Joyce trots up to the pitcher's box to offer a word of encouragement. And Magan walks back in to get his sign. The batter, Bill Stewart. Jeff Peck is on deck for the United States. Full wind-up again. And the pitch. Sharp ground ball, big bounce. Second baseman has it. Joyce throws to first in time for the 3rd out. The side is retired 1-2-3. And for the United States in the first inning, no runs, no hits, no New Zealand errors, no runners left on. At the end of 1 complete inning of play, New Zealand nothing, the United States nothing. And we'll be right back. Well, at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, Washington, Bob Robertson along with Wes Parker for this game in the 5th World Fast Pitch Softball Championship Tournament. The United States and New Zealand doing battle in this one. And the USA and New Zealand are locked up 0-0 as the New Zealand club sends Jimmy Cotter, John Joyce, and Dennis Chain, the right fielder, the second baseman, and the left fielder to the plate in the top half of inning number 2. On the mound doing the pitching, Owen Walford for the United States, a former New Zealand national team pitcher against many of his old teammates. He checks into the windup now. The first and third baseman pretty well back. Here's the pitch. A rising fastball is high and inside, and it's ball 1.
He tried to call timeout and didn't get it. Apparently he was already in his windup, so the umpire wouldn't allow it.
That came back to haunt the United States in an earlier game. I'll touch on that from the qualifying rounds. Here's the pitch, fastball high and away. That was in that Dominican Republic game, as a matter of fact, that the U.S. had to come from behind to win. The designated hitter for the Dominican Republic had jumped in and out of the batter's box a number of times. Our count's 2 balls, no strikes here as Walford pitches. Fastball low, ball 3. And Chuck Darcy was pitching for the United States at the time. The umpire finally said, well, go ahead and throw because we'll call it a strike. He indicated he'd call it a strike. Darcy lobbed the ball up The batter jumped back in the box and hit it for a single. It put his team 2 runs ahead. Almost cost the United States a victory. Called strike on a fastball over the plate, and now it's 3-1 as Cotter was taking all the way that time. John Joyce on deck. The United States around the infield. Peck, Fillion, Starling, and Wright. Nelson Cronkright, the catcher. And the fastball is high, ball 4. So Cotter walks. And for the moment, at least, Owen the Fog Walford is having his shakiest game of this championship tournament. He has been almost untouchable, averaging better than 2 strikeouts an inning and allowing only 1 hit per 7-inning game through the qualifying rounds of this tourney. New Zealand has a pitcher warming in the bullpen right now. They're loosening somebody up. So
They do that all the time, though, Bob. That really doesn't mean that much.
I'm just wondering, though, if Magan is off target as he was, if they might be thinking that perhaps this is not his day. And in this game, really nobody can afford to give one up because the pitching may be too tough.
That's true. They always keep somebody loose. Even if a pitcher is sailing along with a no-hitter, there's always somebody warming up.
I think that's an excellent idea. It can change so fast. Count 1 strike to John Joyce, the second baseman for New Zealand. The pitch, a fly ball hit to right field, not too deep. The right fielder, Stewart, breaking to the line, and Bill makes the catch. Bill Stewart gathers that one in and brings the ball back to the infield to hold the runner Jimmy Cotter at first base. There's one away. Bill Stewart plays for Peterbilt Western of Seattle. And that's his regular team. His teammate from Seattle, Butch Batt, a catcher, is also with the United States team here. And each one has seen some action. This is Stewart's first starting role for the United States team. Dennis Chain is the batter. Dennis, the left fielder. He had an inglorious moment in an earlier game, called strike on a fastball. Dennis was thrown out of the game between New Zealand and Canada after a collision and an altercation at first base that saw both dugouts empty. He and Greg Dick of the Canadian national team got into a little shoving, pushing battle. Here's a pop-up behind second base. The second baseman punches the glove, backs up a stride or 2 and makes the catch. Jack Starling. And so there are 2 away.
He played the sun where very well there, Bob. Did you notice he turned his body sideways to the sun so he wouldn't have to look right up into it? Played the ball out to the side.
Yeah, I think he learned his lesson in the first inning on the infield fly when he didn't capture the ball. And, of course, he came out, as they say, smelling like a rose on that one because he wound up on the winning side. But this time he did. He played it very well. And the batter now is catcher Terry Nuns for New Zealand. With 2 away, and Jimmy Cotter still running at first base. New Zealand in the white uniforms, red helmets and socks. The United States in the dark blue with light blue USA across the front. And they also have the red, white, and blue USA on the caps. There goes the runner. A throw to second. He dives, and he is out. So Cotter is thrown out. Nelson Cronkright to Jack Starling, and the side is retired. And we'll get another look at that one. As in the inning for New Zealand, watch, here goes the runner as the ball is released by the pitcher. Cotter is on his way. And the throw is right on the money as Starling is there. The dive, the tag, the umpire right on the spot, and the call quickly made.
Blocked him off with his foot. Did you see that? His left foot.
Yeah.
Blocked his arm and hand from getting to the bag.
Yeah, he was not going to get there, was he? All right, in the inning, it was no runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. After an inning and a half, the score between New Zealand and the United States is still 0-0 here at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma. Well, if you like your sports rough and tough with a lot of agility, a lot of action, a lot of excitement, then I would suggest full contact karate may be just the sport for you. It takes all of those things and more to stand up to the challenge of professional karate, a regular feature of your total sports network, ESPN. PKA Full Contact Karate. Join ESPN for great karate action Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time and 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Well, we are into one that is liable to wind up being a pitcher's duel all the way between Paul Magan and Owen Walford, although in each case, the pitcher in question has not started off as if he's going to take total command of the ball game. The big crowd here at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma looking to see some of this great pitching, and I would suspect, Wes, as they roll along, these guys will hit their rhythm and it'll get tougher and tougher to get a piece of the ball.
I'm sure that they're both nervous, and it's going to be hard to get a piece of the ball anyway, the way these guys throw and the distance that they're throwing. It's interesting because in taking his warm-ups now, He worked way off to the first base side of the mound, about 2 to 3 feet off of the rubber. Maybe he's trying to correct that tendency to throw the ball outside.
Of course, now that he starts pitching, he's got to go back on the rubber and work within its confines. He can't even, put a foot on the end of it and work outside. He must work within that 24-inch span. And but perhaps he's just trying to find his range, as you suggest, just to figure out where he was wrong, why he was not getting the ball over the plate. All right, bottom of the first, Jeff Peck, Russ Van Zoren, and Jim Wright for the United States. Magan's pitch, fastball high, went right by the catcher and back. And so it is ball one.
Peck's an interesting youngster. He played ball in college, hard ball, and even played some professional ball with the Philadelphia Phillies before changing to softball. And he says he really enjoys it and loves the game, loves the speed of it.
Well, Jeff's looking at some speed right now. There's a swing and a miss on a fastball up around the letters, and the count goes to 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike, leadoff man for the USA in the bottom of inning number 2. These tournament games are scheduled, of course, for 7 innings. The longest one so far in the tourney went 14. Here's the pitch. That hit his bat. And excuse me, foul down the third base side as he tried to turn away from the pitch high and inside. The ball hit his bat.
Ball ran right up and in on him. A lot of action on it.
You don't really want to give a pitcher that much advantage by giving him that strike the way it happened there. Bad pitch high and inside, and Jeff just didn't get clear of the ball. Ready again, left-hand hitting third baseman Jeff Peck. First and third baseman pulled up, but not in tight. They're not looking for him to bunt. The pitch by Magan, fastball just outside. He missed on the outside corner. Catcher thought he had that one. Terry Nuns, he made that half turn to the umpire behind the plate. Got the shake of the head from the umpire. All right, the count is 2-2. Here's the windup again by Paul Magan of New Zealand, and the pitch. Fly ball hit the left field. The left fielder Chain under it makes the catch. And so there's one away. Straight away left field. And Jeff Peck flies out to Dennis Chain, and it'll bring up center fielder Russ Van Zoren. He's had a couple of pretty good games with the bat during the course of this tournament. Van Zoren, a good hitter for the United States. Interestingly, the U.S. team, which was expected to be one of the better hitting teams coming into the tournament, has not overall hit that well. They've not scored that many runs. They've been in some close ball games that were not expected to be that close. The pitch to Van Zoren as the third baseman sneaks in is a fastball high and inside.
If they can lay off that riser, that high riser, a lot of these hitters would have a better chance of walking, because that pitch is so often not a strike when they swing at it. And walks are critical in this game.
Magan changes up that time, but he missed outside, and it's ball 2. Where it is, I think, what's most effective for the pitcher is when he gets ahead of you on the ball strike count and you can't lay off the pitch. Then you have to go for it, and oftentimes you are hitting a bad pitch that's up around your mouth or your nose. Here's the 2-0 delivery coming now from Paul Magan. And Van Zoren falls away, staggers out of the batter's box. Batter's box, by the way, in fast pitch softball is 7 feet long, 3 feet wide, and from the center of the plate, it extends 4 feet forward and 3 feet back. Wind up again by Paul Magan. Ooh, high inside, ball 4. He walked him. Russ Van Zoren of the United States is aboard, and the batter is first baseman Jim Wright. Many of these players who play for this USA team that is based in Midland, Michigan, live in the Detroit area and must commute to practices and games a matter of some 110 miles. So there's considerable desire indicated by these young men to play this game and play it on a championship caliber team. Jim Wright, the first baseman, another left-hand hitter. As Wes pointed out, the United States has a bunch of them. We've got that extra step towards first. We're facing the right-hand pitcher, Magan, on the pitching rubber. And a bunt. He popped it up in the air. Third baseman charges, grabs the ball on the run. Wayne Nichols. So Wright's attempt at a sacrifice goes astray, and he pops out to the third baseman, Wayne Nichols, for the second out of the inning.
Bob, did you see the rise on that fastball? Here he's trying to bunt the ball down on the ground, and that thing was taken off so much that he just couldn't get the bat on top of it.
It is difficult to bunt a ball. It's up that high. We had one player earlier in the tournament that you saw, if you've been following our ESPN coverage of the championship series throughout, who actually on one occasion jumped off the ground and bunted the ball with a bat held in one hand. That was his style, a one-handed bunt, but he jumped off the ground to bunt one. The batter now is Jimmy Fillion. And the shortstop looks at a fastball. That's ball one, up around the chin again. And time is called now. There's something wrong with the running track out off first base. And Russ Van Zorn is trying to get that